order to even start doing the work, you've got to come to some sort of landing with the struggle that is trauma. Because we can talk about it and write about it. And if we continue to hit our own shame button that it's even existing in us and around us to begin with, that's another barrier, right? And we risk like flooding ourselves, right? Not being in the best position to even start doing that work.
A truth about healing. Before we can move forward, we must first face what holds us back. This is Beyond the Window, a podcast from Ventana treatment programs, where we explore the unseen struggles and transformative possibilities of recovery. In this episode, clinical directors Bryce and Jennifer Enriquez trace the tangled relationship between trauma and shame, and how compassion can become the bridge to the other side. Here's their conversation.
Welcome to Beyond the Window. I'm Jennifer Enriquez. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist and clinical director at Ventana.
And I'm Bryce Colvard, also licensed marriage and family therapist, and also clinical director at Ventana.
So great. Loved working with you these past years. And something that we've both been so passionate about is talking about shame and trauma and how that can be this barrier in treatment. Yeah. And so today, what we decided to talk about on our podcast is how on the other side of shame is healing.
Yeah.
So our first question is, Bryce, what does shame look like?
Yeah. So I have this huge passion for shame because it's not a diagnosis. It's not a population. It's its own presenting thing. And it's the thing that embeds itself inside of humans from every walk of life, from every background, from every age, from every everything. And so shame, more kind of simply defined, is the belief system of being bad, right? It's like the difference between guilt and shame is guilt is I feel bad, shame is I am bad. It's that integral belief system that I, because of who I am, where I come from, what I've experienced in my life, inherently makes me bad and wrong and flawed and not worthy. And that embeds itself into your psyche, profoundly, and then comes out in addiction and mental health. And within that becomes this like, well, if I believe that I'm bad, then how am I going to convince myself that I need help, that I'm like deserving of help?
Yeah, it's just like huge. We frequently talk about like these barriers of treatment.
Yeah.
And I don't think shame is talked about enough as this like barrier of treatment.
Yeah.
For sure. And so what can we encourage someone that maybe is exploring, maybe they're watching this podcast right now, exploring like these first steps into like getting help and what that could look like, because it can seem like this huge monster, right? This huge mountain in front of me. And I'm so terrified. And I've got maybe these huge, fears about what it could look like. And I've got all of these, misconceptions. So when I'm on that side of healing, what can be this first thing that I can maybe start to tell myself before I get that professional help that could help me kind of go, okay, well, just maybe I can take that first step through that door.
Yeah. I mean, as cliche as it sounds, or as, people often say, it's like the first step is like admitting I have a problem, right? It's the first step is going like, I'm not okay, right? My life is falling apart, or my emotions are out of, my grasp right now, or something happened to me and I'm not okay with it. I'm not feeling well. I'm not like, however somebody wants to phrase it. It's having that, I think, vulnerable moment with yourself to go like, I'm not okay, because that combats your internalized shame that you have of like, do I just pretend like everything's not? Do I just keep it together? Because that's where we're starting out with, then reaching out to somebody else, involving anybody else or another system in the equation is insurmountable at that point. Right. So it's starting with like looking in the mirror and like having this conversation of like, I'm not okay. And I don't know what to do. And moving through that fear in a way that's going to allow you to go, I need help. And that help is somewhere outside of myself. Even if you don't know, we kind of talk about the hardest thing sometimes is just pick up the phone. You don't know the answer. You don't know what it's going to look like. There's so many unknowns and like that's scary. But if the first thing you do is like pick up the phone and go, I don't know what I need. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know how this is going to look. Right. But
So
I'm not
scary.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
something that hit me is when you were talking, I think we don't even have to have like a severe mental health like disorder. I love that you talked about like, it's not this disorder, right? Of like shame is not something you give a med to, right? It's not a diagnosis. It's something that everyone can have. And when you talked about this piece of like sharing it and picking up the phone, it's like, oof, right? Like my shame gets touched when it's like this picture of like, I'm not like this perfect, right? Yeah. It's like I have this idea of like, I'm this strong single mom. I'm this badass clinical director. I've got it all together. Yeah. I don't have this though, whatever it might be. And it takes, even as a clinician, right? We always joke when we say therapists need therapists, doctor needs doctors, right? Yeah. And so even as a therapist, we need to be able to say like, I need to reach out and say like, I can't do this alone because we don't heal in ones, right? We heal in community, whether that's within the 12 steps, right? Whether that's within treatment, whether that's within your family system, it takes that community piece. And so part of that takes that vulnerability. Part of that takes this piece of it's okay to be truly seen and it's not going to be perfect. Yeah. And it's going to be a little messy. Yeah. And I think that's this part that some will relate to. And like, I know I relate with that.
Sure.
Is like,
absolutely. Same.
Right? Like my best friend's like my best friend because she's in the trenches with me.
Right.
She's seen the ugliest parts of whatever my life has shown up with. Right. And so that's my person. That's who I go to. Or if it's my mom, my dad, my brother, whoever. Yeah. And so I have that because I've allowed myself to show those other parts. Yeah.
It's a human connection thing.
Absolutely. But then you look on my social media and it's the Facebook highlight reel, right? And it looks like she does no wrong, right? Sure. And so I think there's like this misconception and we hold on so tightly to the Facebook, Instagram, TikTok highlight reel of my life, of how we want to present. Yeah. That it separates us and it becomes this gap between my shame won't allow me to really show myself. Right. And we really need to take pause and go, how do I find this balance in between? Am I going to let this image, this ego,
which is also rooted in shame, the ego, right?
Right.
How do I protect myself?
That's next TED Talk. Am I going to allow myself to let that outweigh me getting this connection and healing, right?
And need met, right? Because it's like the need met of support, the need met of I have a wound, I have a trauma, I have a symptom, I have, something is happening inside of me that has nothing to do with my success, has nothing to do with who I am in the world, whether it's my roles or my vocation. It's simply because I'm human. Right. And so often we'll see in treatment, like that is the barrier, right? Of okay, I've gotten myself here. And yet even still, the shame comes up and gets in our own way of like putting one foot in front of the other or staying in treatment, right? So it shows up in every aspect of human connection, of seeking help, of relationships, of childhood, of dealing with past, of dealing with present. Like it's so profound and yet we don't talk about it. Right. It's like the silent killer, literally sometimes.
Literally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What does, for someone that can look at, okay, maybe I've got the hook. Maybe, okay, I've recognized my life is becoming unmanageable. I'm not functioning. I do need more support at whatever level of care that may look like. I know I've got this trauma. Yeah. whether it happened 6 months ago or 4 decades ago, what does initial trauma work even look like?
Yeah.
Because I think there's like a lot of misconceptions. We hear them so frequently.
Often. Yeah.
So what does that look like so we can take A, the stigma out of it, and B, the fear out of it, to really normalize and create this safe transition into what it could look like so people can feel safe addressing some of that trauma that hasn't been touched.
Yeah, I think, and it's always both, right? We always talk about like they go hand in hand, right? You can't talk about trauma without talking about shame. You usually can't talk about shame without talking about trauma, right? So it's this duality in it, and it's the fact that trauma in and of itself has so many misconceptions and so much, stigma around what I should have been able to handle, right? Because initial trauma work is one going, I radically accept that trauma is a part of the human experience sometimes, right? That I am not, that no one person is like absolved of a traumatic experience or
we're not a blank
traumatic
slate.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not to happen or not to, it's kind of everything, right? So it's first understanding like what the definition of trauma is. Trauma is an abundance of stress for one specific person. And my level of stress is very different than your level of stress is very different than somebody else's. So it's my system's response to an abundance of stress to the point of not being able to function, or to the point of having certain things show up for me that is a reflection of my experience or the internalization of my experience. And so often people go, if I can just put as much space between me and my trauma, then I'll just like be over it.
Because time heals all wounds.
Right.
But it doesn't.
But it doesn't. No, this is the one. Like you can make the case for some things maybe, but like that, I think that's one like radical misconception, right? And it's an avoidance tactic. Absolutely. And it makes sense because if you can say, just give it time, it gives that sense of like control when I lost it in my trauma, right? In my childhood, in my relationship, in my DV, in my addiction, like whatever it was, right? So I think the first thing is going, what am I working with? Can I accept that trauma is a human experience? Sometimes it's not my fault, right? Because I think in order to even start doing the work, you've got to come to some sort of landing with the struggle that is trauma. Because we can talk about it and write about it. And if we continue to hit our own shame button that it's even existing in us and around us to begin with, that's another barrier, right? And we risk like flooding ourselves, right? Not being in the best position to even start doing that work,
right?
And I think another big misconception is like, well, if I just talk about it once and I can just do that and say, okay, this happened to me, then I can just put that in a box, and that box lives in my life, and that's that. Yeah. And the thing about correcting that is that trauma work is integration. It's to literally integrate that this story is a part of your story, right? That this experience is something that, is a part of you in many ways, or that, is a part of your past, and you've got to learn to be around it and with it and understand it and manage it and integrate it into your human existence in order to find healing in general.
Yeah, and it's something that it's not, we really want it to be this easy fix at times, right? Yeah. Of if I talk about it, then I'm healed, and
2 weeks of residential. I can just do it.
That'd be amazing.
Right?
I would love that for you.
Right? 30 days, 2 weeks, right?
But the trauma is within our body, right? And so it's learning to listen to what our body is telling us. Yeah. Right? Whether it's through my poor sleep, my anxiety, my flashbacks, like we can go on and on about what trauma can look like and how it can come out. We frequently talk about how it comes out sideways, right? Yeah. Through irritability, through what have you. And so it's how do I manage those pieces? It's not just the story of what happened. It's how is it impacting me now? How am I managing it now? Yeah. Right? So it doesn't keep me in this trauma cycle going forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like perpetuating this maladaptive piece. We always say like we've come to a head, right? We've been doing whatever we've been doing. And sometimes they're really effective.
Sure.
Right? It's like numbing is really, really effective, and shoving it down and distracting and using and, you know, sleeping too much or too little or being really perfect and just like, oh, if I just keep it all together, like those are brilliant strategies. Those are, you know, and not long lasting and not sustainable. Right.
I think that's huge, right?
Yeah.
Is it sustainable? It's keeping me, I'm a workaholic.
Yeah.
So I'm thriving in this part of my life, right? And I'm stuffing it down until I'm starting to have uncontrollable flashbacks, until I'm starting to have panic attacks in my workroom, bathroom, right? Until it starts to be where my alcoholism is now flooding into, where it's not just functional.
Yeah.
Right. And so it becomes this thing of it works until it doesn't. Right. And so that's where it becomes, okay, I need this professional help, to where we start looking at, instead of maladaptive, how do we get to this place of like healthy coping skills?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's a lot of the work that we do in residential, right? This 24-hour care piece is like getting this foundation under you to be able to manage it, to be able to have this life, to be able to, you know, get it to where it's not as impacting, overwhelming, right? All consuming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think so often it's what we're, I think of the word like adapt, right? It's like, you know, we have that capacity to go through really hard things. I always talk about like, you know, being the kind of physiological and like neurological, you know, fiend that I am. You know, I have this like fascination and this awe of just, you know, the way that the human brain and our physiology like can adapt to adversity, right? We're not supposed to do these, you know, really high level, very, you know, succinct, you know, ways of coping at the most extreme, at the most intense, like forever. Right. And this idea that I can radically accept that like I can have something happen to me, fall apart, and become a stronger version of myself, like is adapting, right? That humans have that capacity. So I will talk about in, you know, the terms of trauma work and shame work, right? It's when I struggle to find the hope like within myself, like I've got to look for it outside of myself, right? I've got to go that like, I know this is possible because it's science, right? I know this is possible because it's fact. I'm in a place where I don't believe it because my shame tells me that I am awful and undeserving and the worst of the worst because of what happened to me. And so, you know, I'll talk about like with our clients, like I'll hold the hope, right? You're not ready to take it because you don't feel like you're deserving of it, right? So I'm going to hold it for you in my area of expertise, and knowing that it's possible and walking this journey with so many clients before you and seeing the work and practicing what I preach because I believe in it, right? Of like when you're ready to take it and when you're ready to go, I'm going to shift that belief system of like my trauma means that I'm broken. It goes, no, my trauma happened and it was hard and painful and the worst thing that I've ever experienced. And I can be resilient. Right. And I can be vulnerable and I can have healing from that because I am not inherently broken. So I can ask for help.
I think one of the honors of like doing this work is this quote that came up just a few days ago, which I thought was so serendipitous, is this quote of shame dies when, oh my gosh, I'm going to get the exact quote because I don't want to mess it up. But it's shame dies when stories are told in safe places.
Yeah.
And for so many different people, safety can be skewed. And so it's finding what does safety look like for me and what is such an honor is being in this field where we get to be sometimes someone's only safe place. Where they've quite literally never told or felt comfortable telling the story. And it truly is told in a place where it is no judgment, where it's not shocking, where it's something that is seen, that is supported. We talk about this shield by shield, right? We're alongside of you, that it's
like army of support.
Absolutely. Yeah. On multiple different levels, right? And so there's this power in that. And I think that's what's so special about these programs that we have, is that we see day and day and day these clients that have these transformative experiences from coming in at quite literally their lowest point, their most shame-riddled points, to I'm going to allow some vulnerability. And it's met with that therapist in the room. And this shame starts to die and this healing starts to come. And I always talk about this sort of 3-week chuckle. Right around this 3 weeks, they start to
see
laugh
the shift.
and smile for the first time. And it's this gift that, like, that's our job, that's our career. Like, what an amazing gift and honor to be a part of that. And to create that space of, I'm just holding space for you. We can't change what happened.
I'm not fixing.
I'm not fixing.
Because you're not broken. Right? Like I'm not here to fix you, right? I'm here to hold space for you. I'm here to walk with you. I'm here to show up for you.
Right.
But if you needed fixing, that would reinforce the belief that you're broken. You're not broken.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's, the core crux of trauma work is like seeking safety. Absolutely. Right? You can't talk about it. If you're not safe, right? And when you talk about really niche and specialized trauma treatment, right? Done right, it's, can you cope? Do you have a toolbox, right? Are you in a safe environment, right? Before we even get to what happened, it's like recognizing of, do I know what's safe? Have I ever experienced that? And do I need corrective experiences with that first, right? Because even as trauma-informed care, and that's a big buzzword in the field, right? Like the trauma specialist, right? And trauma-informed care, because it feels like that's the saving grace, right? Like it's the light at the end of the tunnel, right? And so if I'm in the throes and I don't know anything about the field, like of course I'm going to go, I have this thing and you've got this thing, and I'm going to connect with that, right? But so often it comes from within. It's that you've got to have this inward and outward safety piece of, can you feel safe in your own body? Are you safe in your environment? Can you seek out safety in an unsafe world, right? Because if we can't do that, and then we start opening up wounds, you're just running around bleeding, right? And so it's, how do I learn how to patch myself off? Because, one thing I always talk about is like, my wellness cannot be contingent on the actions of others.
Say that again.
My wellness cannot be contingent on the actions of others. I can't be well when somebody gives me the apology. I can't be well when somebody fixes me. I can't be well when I get enough money, right? Or I stop doing these things. It's my wellness has to be my own. We cannot have contingencies in health and wellness and healing, because then it's this almost illusion of safety, right? It's this almost like very temporary, again, is it sustainable, right? Is this person, is this thing, is this whatever going to be my constant? Because at the end of the day, it's the person staring back at you in the mirror that's your constant. Right. And what's your internal relationship with you and your attachment with yourself, right? That's another part of this work that we could go on, into, of like, at the end of the day, that's who you walk the journey with. We just get the honor to be a part of that, right? And to give education, because like, I know you and I both believe like knowledge is power, right? If I understand what's going on with me, even that creates like this level up, right? But it comes with from within, and going, I have shame, I have trauma. Most people do. Everybody has shame. You, me, the healthiest person in the world, right? It's how do I manage it, not how much do I shove it down and not talk about it, right?
And part of that links to what you talked about with control, right? I can control within me and what safety looks like with me. I cannot control as much as I really want to if I'm seeking outside of me, right? Whether it's a location, a person, what have you. And so that's part of the work is like this safety within me.
Yeah.
And sometimes because the trauma has maybe happened within my body, my body doesn't feel safe. And so that's part of the work too, is finding safe parts within my system.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like icing versus cake, right? It's like the icing is your support system, right? And your environment and your, coping skills and your workout routine. Like that is great. And we promote that and teach those skills, right? But it's icing, right? The cake is you. Yeah. The cake is, can I sleep at night? Right. The cake is, every time, do I avoid mirrors because I literally hate every part of how I look? Right? Or showers, basic hygiene, right? Food, being able to have, intimacy in relationships, right? And be present in friendships. Shame creates this like just coming in effect. I always do this like body language thing, right? It makes you feel so small and you feel like I'm not present. And that starts here, right? You've got to like work on, this relationship with you as informed by what we've been through. And then we get to capitalize on all of those, all the icing, right? That's what makes it pretty. That's what makes it, but you're the cake at the end of the day. Yeah.
And this piece of when you draw in, that can feel safe. If I isolate, no one can hurt. If I isolate, I don't have to get activated. Yeah. Right. And so it's really, I can draw towards that, right? Because then I know that I'm not going to have all of these factors, right? But is that a life worth living if I'm spending 18 hours in bed? Because I can't leave. Right. Right.
Is it sustainable?
Exactly. Quality and sustainability.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think so often, I think the illusion of safety, right? Because when I isolate, am I actually safe? It's like defining that, it's really getting real with these like pieces, right? Of like, I'm by myself in my bed and that feels safe, right? But like if DBT's taught us anything, like feelings aren't facts, right? The fact of the matter is like we're cutting off our basic human need of love, connection, and belonging, right? And when we cut ourselves off at the knees and we don't meet our own needs for us, how can anybody meet it if I can't even reach you because you've barricaded yourself behind this wall, literally in your house or in your bed, right? And nobody can access you, So it's like, how do I remove this barrier? How do I move through this like fear and uncomfortability and go, I've never seen anybody die of healing. You know what I mean? I've never seen. It feels like it. It's so uncomfortable, right? But in all of our experience, nobody has ever died from uncomfortability, right? The sky has never fallen from being uncomfortable. It just sucks. It really sucks. We talk about very transparently, like treatment is the hardest thing you'll ever do.
No matter it's hard, you're doing it right.
And as it should, you know what I mean? Yeah. And that's something we come back on is like, I'm going to show up for you and I'm going to create this space where you can be so uncomfortable. And now you get this experience of like, I'm so proud of you. And you're like, I feel like shit. And I'm like, I'm so proud of you. Like, that's how it should feel. Yeah. Right? In a world.
Because I'm sitting in it, not avoiding, not pushing down. This is what your body has needed for so long. Yeah. And you're allowing to connect with it.
Right.
Right. Yeah. And there's this other piece, right, of how do I want to say it? So it's this, I'm going to go there. It's this, am I worth it?
Yeah.
Because there are times when I don't feel worthy.
Yeah.
When I don't feel worthy, then I'm not going to reach out. Yeah. And if I don't reach out, it's well, others aren't calling me. I don't matter. Do I even live?
Yeah.
That is something that is such a core belief of people. So how do we address this worthiness with suicidal thoughts?
Totally.
Because we make it make sense in our head. We make the connection in our head that is so distorted.
Totally.
But we can't see it when we're in it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It is so valid in our head because I'm not worthy. I'm not connected with anyone. Maybe no one is showing up in my life right now.
Yeah.
Right? And so, I don't see another way out.
Yeah.
And so my brain is telling me, instead of sitting with this pain, end it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what do I do with that?
Yeah, I say we're constantly looking for the thing that aligns with where we're at.
Totally.
And so it's what is aligning, right? It's what's the core belief of being worthless and undeserving and broken and messed up to the point of no repair. It's this really warped reality that to end it, which goes against everything that biology says humans should do. Like, we are wired to put one foot in front of the other, right? But that starts warping itself to going, well, that feels safer, right? That's the end to the pain, right? And as evidenced by nobody's reaching out, right? Or I don't have anybody, or I got fired from my job and I got a divorce and I lost my kids, or, whatever it is. We take all of these pieces and we make it make sense, right? So again, we can do this work. I call it like playing whack-a-mole, right? Of like, stop drinking and stop doing this and mend this relationship and put your, we could play whack-a-mole and we never get at the core issue. And the core issue is like the beliefs that I have about myself, the trauma that I have unprocessed, and the shame button, And so I've got to do that like into outwork rather than like, if I just change all of this, like I'll just feel better about myself. Because again, we have this predisposition to like warp it so that it's more palatable and it's more manageable, right? And so it's, how do you change a core belief system? It's like, you got to look for different evidence, right? You've got to go, okay, all of this is true and valid, right? I have significant loss. I had ruptures in relationships. I did awful things maybe in the throes of my addiction and struggle. And at the same time, can I control how I repair that? Right? That at the end of the day, when I reached out for help and I made that call for a therapist, for treatment, for whatever it is, like somebody was on the other line, right? That every day, right, we show up. Yep. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how loud somebody is. It doesn't matter what they're struggling. Like,
doesn't matter the hour.
No.
Quite literally. I think Bryce was up at 3 a.m.
Yep. So I'm going to show you different evidence because that's my heart and my passion and I believe in it, right? To change your belief system, we've got to show an alternative way of believing. You've got to literally give the brain and the body new information because the brain and the body has to do something with information. That is how we work, right? Neurologically. It's that when we are provided new information, our brain will take it and it will go, right?
And it goes, just maybe.
Yep.
Just
if
maybe.
That's possible.
If Bryce showing up, right? Or just maybe with this new evidence.
Yeah. Or if I go to group today, right? Or if I called my therapist, right? Or if I called that friend that I said was never going to answer my call, like I wrote it off, right? If I move, I kind of talk about like if I move past that point of resistance, right? That point, and we
or
constantly,
assumption or a belief or whatever that is. Yeah.
Right. And what if I just got a different experience, right? Because your brain will do the rest of the work, which is to take it in, is to create a new neural pathway, is to literally fire a neuron differently, right? And that's how healing happens. It's this, tapestry of like, a stitch and a weave and a color, and I broke it and then I put a new one in and then I ran out of thread and then I gave it more. Like that's what creates healing in totality, right? It's not just going, well, if everybody else just did this, then I would be okay, right? It can't be that, contingency piece, right? And that can start in doing something different. Like we talk about that all the time. I feel like that's got to be like the therapist slogan at this point.
We're going to get shirts made.
Totally, right? Of like, did I wake up every day and do something different, right? Because I have this like predisposition to do a certain amount of things because that's what my trauma told me, because that's how I was raised, right? Because that's literally all I've ever known.
Sure.
Right. And so sometimes the step of that is I made the call when I wouldn't. I went to treatment when I really didn't want to. Right. I opened up when I am the closer and shove it down. Right. Like, did I do something different? Changes the belief system. Right. And your belief system changes your sense of self. And that is your armor when it comes to trauma.
So good.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
I loved this conversation. I hope that a lot of healing comes from this.
Hope you learned something.
Yes, absolutely.
That's my biggest thing. I hope everybody that listens, it's like that one piece. I hope you took away something. And I could do this with you every day.
All day.
All day, every day.
All right. See you next time, Bryce.